Hello, fellow traders, market enthusiasts, crypto enthusiasts. My name's Curtis, and I have a website called Beyond Backtesting. I'm a market enthusiast. I've called markets. I've built algo trading systems. I'm a trader, and I do a little bit of crypto. Today, I want to talk about Pulsechain versus Million Token, why Pulsechain may be the crypto project for 2022, and how to secure your bag. Oh, that's late. Before I get started, I just want to say that everything I'm sharing is my opinion only. Nothing should be construed as investment advice. Nothing should be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell. I don't provide recommendations of any kind, nor investment advice. Everything is my opinion only. Trading is risky. Don't trade with money you can't afford to lose. Crypto is risky. Okay, it's real stuff. Real stuff. Okay. With that disclaimer out of the way, we'll talk about Pulsechain versus Million Token. And try to make this kind of a fireside chat, so that maybe a little entertaining. So how I got my Pulsechain, right? What is Pulsechain? What is Pulsechain? How did I get Pulsechain? How did I acquire Pulsechain? Obviously I have to go into a little bit of detail for those who don't know. What is Million Token, right? And so Million Token is this crypto project launched by TechLead. It's an NFT based on Ethereum. It runs on Ethereum. It was a million fixed limited supply. We'll get into this, but let's just talk about what is how I acquired my Pulsechain. Okay, so Million Token went up about 10 times, and I had a lot of, and I sold it near the top. I had 10 times, I made 10 times, and so when you're flush with capital, you look at new investments. And at that time, Richard Hart was at that time, which you cannot do this now. Don't try to do this now. I'll talk about how you secure your bag in the last phase, but you don't try to do this now. You can't take these steps. So there's two ways. You could go to Sims Foundation and donate, and this is a longevity foundation dedicated to eradicating disease. It's a good place. It's a good foundation, I think. I donated to them. I did the research. I said, okay, this looks like a good, good foundation. Do your research. If you agree, if you think the mission makes sense, extending the lifespan and maybe saving your life in the future, I highly recommend that review their foundation, and if it makes sense to you, donate. It's one that I think Richard Hart said that it's one of these that the foundation has received a couple donations from the Tyler Buterin, occasionally. But this Pulsechain raised the most money for SINs by far has ever been raised by orders of magnitude. So you could acquire Pulsechain by donating, okay, and or by sending it directly to an address and kind of burning it. I did both. I wish I had donated more. I wish I'd been able to acquire more, even though it has a $0 value. It's still worth nothing. It's worthless today. It's going to be priced at zero, but I think the potential for it is going to be much greater. And it's not even launched yet. But I do kind of wish I had donated more. A little bit more. But it is what it is, and that's how I acquired it. And unfortunately, I bought back in the Million Token after it was down 80%, thinking that I've always had a rule or saying. I've always warned people, don't buy into stuff that goes parabolic. And it's been my rule because you know what's going to happen. And Million Token collapsed then. So I ended up losing money on Million Token after being up 10 times. And it's just a lesson in risk management and trading. It doesn't matter how much you're up or down. If you don't risk manage, things can change in a hurry. So that's kind of why I associate these. There's really no association between these projects. And many people would say that comparison between these projects is why would you compare such different projects? And I think the reason I want to do this is I want to argue or convince myself that Pulsechain is a better project. And so first, I'm going to look at the differences and why I think Pulsechain is superior. Then we're going to talk about how we're going to talk about why it might be the crypto project 2022. And then we're going to talk about how to secure your bag. Okay, so who's the inventor of Pulsechain? Okay, well first we'll say what is it? Okay. This is a fork of Ethereum. It's going to be a fork of Ethereum, and it's designed to solve high gas fees and slow transaction times. Okay, the gas fees on Ethereum have, depending on the complexity of the code, can be several hundreds or even more dollars, depending on the time. And it's made it very difficult to transact on Ethereum. Okay, and the transactions can be slow. This has a higher throughput. It solves the gas fees. It solves the solves the gas fees, and it's going to make it much cheaper, much more. It's going to be a much more usable chain, you know, to the purpose of what Ethereum was originally meant to be. Okay, you know, who's behind it? Right? It's Richard Hart, and you know, he's a billionaire, and his other famous project is Hex. Now, Hex, I want to talk about Hex a moment. Hex is this it's this crypto project that's kind of been the ugly duckling of the crypto world because a lot of people's ignored it, called it a scam, et cetera, et cetera. And when it came out, Hex has this staking mechanism that allows you to earn Hex, and it's it has many interesting features that no other crypto had. It had the ability to have had a CD type certificate deposit type mechanism that said you can earn Hex, earn interest. Another crypto had that. Had staking. Had a lot of stuff that I think probably was ahead of its time, and it was one of the first real attempts to create income through crypto. Now there's the NFT, the DeFi, all that came later. You know, liquidity provision, but you know, it was really visionary. But also, it was mired by claims it was a scam. And I remember getting in early, hearing about it, and then just reading article after article. It was a scam, and then just saying, okay, I'm not going to get involved in this. It sounds like it's a scam, and kind of ignoring it. And, you know, it's one of those things where if I had, you know, had taken a risk on it, and, you know, but it went up 11,000 times or more. I don't know exactly, and it's still around today. And, you know, the people, early investors, you know, who put in a small amount, you know, maybe somebody put in 1,000 could be a millionaire now if they held it. So it made a lot of people rich, extremely rich, and who decided to take the risk of this. There was a lot of media articles about the origin address and how there was concerns that Richard Hart controlled it, all this stuff. And so you won't find it on most of your exchanges, right? Because there's still that controversy. But the fact is, it's been a proven, demonstrated winner to this point. Now, any crypto can fail, you know, at any time, but to this point, it's been it's not collapsed. There was no rug pull, and you know, many people now, you know, Richard Hart's been on, you know, Kitco and some other places, and it's kind of it's slowly people are starting to recognize, okay, it's a crypto project. It may or may not survive, but it wasn't rug pulled. It wasn't a BitConnect type scheme or scam. And I think that's the sentiment today. At the time, it was much different. So, you know, that's who's behind it. And it's, you know, the idea, you know, I said it's a good idea. You know, now it has technology. It's an actual technology. It's a fork. You know, it's not really on top of Ethereum. Now, some people will say, and I'm not an expert in this, will say, okay, they're just using technology from other projects, Binance Smart Chain, and they're using this other technology. Nothing is revolutionary. And that may be the case, but the fact it's a fork I think is pretty smart, pretty brilliant. I want to talk about that a little bit. So when we talk about Mento, I'm going to talk about why that's pretty smart. I don't want to go into it yet, though. Okay, and it solves real world problems. Okay, it's he's known as a marketing genius, and you know, they have a strong community that supports Hex. Okay, some people call him almost like a religious. You know, he has a strong community. He's known as a marketing genius. He seems like a very smart guy. Okay, so this is the project. It's a grand vision. This grand vision. Now, Million Token, you know, I just thought it was a good idea. It's this idea of a fixed print, 1 million supply, a token backed by $1, okay, or supported at $1, pegged, you know, basically the guy's going to put $1 million of liquidity at $1. It was started by Tech Lead. Let's go by Tech Lead. He claims to be a millionaire. You know, that's his kind of his stick or his, you know, he's a millionaire. And he would formerly worked at Google and some other, do a lot of tech stuff, which is why I was aware of him. And it's a limited NFT token. It kind of runs on the Ethereum blockchain, although he supported it to his credit, he ported it to many other chains, right? So it has, because of the Ethereum gas fees, the Ethereum fees became a problem for this project as well. And to TechLead's credit, he ported it. The problem is, the difference is, first, there was the controversy, although there's controversy here too, or with the Richard Hart, and the ideas that maybe he's a scammer, all this stuff. It technically had a poor report with the community early on because he didn't have $1 million backing it. He only had $50K backing it, and it was backed at $1. But then he used the proceeds from the liquidity to back it, which again created controversy. Might have interfered with price discovery early on in a negative way for early investors. Some of his marketing plans were controversial, even foolish. Some might even say foolish or detrimental. And he claims it was a joke, but it's pretty much a lie. It was he obviously promoted it heavily. I think he didn't think it through. It wasn't well thought out, but he'll say it was a joke. It wasn't. He didn't have a team. No real use case. Okay. It has a good idea of it being a fixed 1 million supply, and it was kind of like, okay, can it be something like at the time I looked at it, I said, okay, Doge is inflationary. Doge isn't backed by anything. This thing's backed by $1. This thing has a limited supply, and so I thought it was interesting. However, the vision is pretty limited, really, very limited vision. Never had a grand vision, never had a real team. Whereas Richard Hart had a real team, marketing plan, a grand vision, a fork of Ethereum. Okay, so that basically we're talking about a competitor to Ethereum. Okay. And I think this is kind of shows you, and I'm not counting million token out. And I think it could be dead money. It could recover. But we can see the difference between a great project or a strong project and a weak project. It was a weak project. Whether it survives or not, they're both kind of neat ideas, but that's all million token was a kind of a neat idea. And it could find use, it could find value, given that algo stablecoins haven't found value. I thought somebody would just try to corner it, but the market and drive it up. And I think it could do that. It could be just it seems designed to pump, but it's not pumped. You got a very limited supply. You got $1 backing. It seems like it was designed to pump. It's much better than other cryptos, yet it didn't pump. Whereas you take Pulsechain, this has also got deflationary economics in it. It's got Richard Hart's. He put a lot of game theory into it. But it's also got a grand vision, a marketing plan, a team, and it solves real world problems. And so I think that's what you look at, the difference between what looks like a good idea on the surface and what is a great idea. Okay, what could be a great idea. Now you may ask, natural question would be asked, well, if Richard Hart can do this, why can't Vitalik Buterin, the inventor of Ethereum, just solve this problem? And I think it's just a difference based on listening to Richard Hart and listening to Vitalik Buterin. Vitalik Buterin is looking at a 100-year plan, a 20-year plan, a 50-year plan, whereas Richard Hart's looking at solving the problems today. And when you have that difference in mindset, obviously, if you're looking just to solve the problems in an iterative way, in a way that just solve the problems right now for today, then it's going to be much easier. Whereas Vitalik's his mindset is more like, okay, if I build a 4-lane road, it's just going to get clogged up again. If I build an 8-lane road, it's going to get clogged up. I have to build a 3D road, and so that vision is different. Obviously, the Ethereum team's working on solving these problems too, but they have a legacy system. They have interest. They have interest from miners and to make these changes, and they have the potential of hurting the ecosystem. So, being able to start and fork it and just do what you need to do is pretty smart. And that's what I want to talk about. Why this being a fork, a technology fork, is I think a brilliant idea, because Million Token, these projects experience similar problems in that people want to take advantage of these projects with small amounts of money, and the fees of Ethereum, the promise of Ethereum, failed for both projects. Now, Tech Lead ported Million Token to his credit and did real work by porting it to several other chains. I don't know all the chains he ported it to, but it's only like a dozen chains. And I commend that work, because that was kind of like it's real work to do all those ports and everything. The problem is that I've never used those other ports. I only have the Ethereum, and I looked at using some of those other chains, those other there's Pancake Swap, all these other alternatives to Uniswap, all these other side tokens, side chains, and it's like it takes more work, it takes more study, it's more complicated, and there's a risk of losing money anytime you do these transactions. The brilliant part of Pulsechain is that anyone who has a MetaMask wallet, which is the basics you need to do any type of DeFi, any crypto, you're just going to be able to change the network, and automatically it's just going to work. And I think that's a very smart way of doing it, because some people say, well, this is just technology that these other chains could already do. They already solved these problems. But there's a bit of a genius behind this the more I think about it, in that just like I didn't learn how to use these other chains, okay, this is just changing one setting in your MetaMask, okay. So I think that's it's a bold vision, it's a grand vision, right? And versus this was a small, we look at these, we can say Million Tokens, even if Million Token recovers, and I hope it does. I'm still holding it. I'm still hopeful it recovers. I see potential it could recover, but still, it's a small vision. It's a small vision. This is a grand vision. Okay, this is a grand vision. Okay. This vision was create a coin that can pump and pump and pump. Neat. It's interesting. Deflationary supply just was half-baked all around. Did not have the $1 million to back it, and just did a poor job of releasing it. He opened himself up to attacks by CoffeeZilla, regardless of whether technically it was backed. Yes, technically it might have been backed at $1, but he just opened himself up. He didn't put it into code, which means he could pull it. Another thing, he didn't do it through code. Just made a lot of mistakes. Small vision. Here at the Pulsechain is a grand vision. Right? Okay. Now, why Pulsechain? Let's go on. So we talked about the differences, and why Pulsechain may be the crypto project of 2022. Okay. Now, Pulsechain again is still, the question is because it's associated with Richard Hart, are the exchanges, is the greater wide crypto community going to support it or not? Or is it going to be like a stealth sleeper project? It's going to be like an ugly, kind of like the so-called ugly stepchild of crypto. And that's the question. But why do I say crypto project 2022? First, from the bear market, okay? I dumped most of my crypto. I've done pretty well time in crypto markets. I dumped all my crypto. Yeah, I dumped it all a long time ago. I didn't dump it at the top, but I dumped it a little bit better than when I was like break even, above it break even. But so we're in a bear market. Nobody really. I think and retail enthusiasm has went out. The richest man in the world has already bought his bag, as Richard Hart says. And retail is attracted to new things. Retail is not like, institutions like Bitcoin because it's been around forever. It's the most solid, et cetera, et cetera. Retail is looking for something that can multi-X, okay? And Pulsechain is just that. Now, when you look at Pulsechain, I haven't did any analysis, like any deep analysis, other than seeing that Hex did like 11,000 times. That's again that maybe more. So 11,000%. There could be 16,000% from where you bought it. You could have done more. On a project like this, a 10x is not a good return. And I'm not looking at 10x. I'm not even considering selling my stuff at 10x. Okay, you're not looking at 10x. 100x You know, yes, okay, 100x I might be tempted, but you're really looking for like 1,000x. And the reason is because if this project survives, if it just survives, it doesn't do the hockey puck, you know, collapse, the bubble type graph that we've seen so often, then you know you're going to get more. You're going to get 1,000x at some point, most likely. Okay, just by holding. It might be a year, it might be 2 years, it might be 3 years, it might be 5 years, but at some point, wherever you sell, it's going to be worse than what it will go to. So if you're not getting a life-changing sum of money, then it's probably not a good time to sell it. Okay, that's the way I treat it. Okay, so so that's the possibility. Now, what are the competitors? Well, obviously, I don't know how much mainstream crypto support it'll have, given that it's Richard Hart, given that it competes with Ethereum. But how do you secure your bag? So this is the question. How are you going to secure your bag? Let's get to securing your bag. I want to end this up at 30 minutes, okay? So you cannot do. There's actually, I don't want to go into all this. There's Pulsechain, which is the root chain. It's kind of like Ethereum, and then there's PulseX, which is going to be like the Uniswap miners, kind of they described it. Then there's Hex, which is the primary use case, which is it's going to be on the Pulsechain, we call PHEX, right? So here's the deal, because it's a fork of Ethereum. If you hold Ethereum in a off-exchange wallet, if you have your own wallet, if you have a MetaMask wallet, okay, if you have a DeFi wallet, any token you have there, it's going to get copied over. Now, it may be every token will be worthless on the new chain initially, but essentially it'll gain money. Now, the thing is, so what that means is, if you say you hold $1,000 in Ethereum, you're going to get 1,000 Pulsechain tokens, okay? But here's the deal: just only if you hold your tokens in a wallet, okay, not in an exchange like Coinbase. Now, 1,000. Let's say you have 100,000, right, $1,000 in Ethereum. You're gonna get 100,000 Pulsechain. Right, it's the same idea. Now, that 100,000 Pulsechain, it's not going to be worth 100,000 Ethereum. It's going to start with $0 value. It might be worth $1. Okay, so you're not going to be able to get very much that way because of the way it's scaled. Now, what that means is that the relevance is, if you don't believe in the project, you want to be aware so that you can dump, once it starts trading, you can dump your Pulsechain for, maybe get $1 or something for it. But I would not recommend to do that, because I think that the potential Pulsechain is going to be far outsurpass Ethereum. So I would not recommend anybody to do that. But you want to have you won't be holding something in your wallet so that you get transferred over, but you're not going to be able to acquire very much that way. You can no longer donate. You can no longer sacrifice. So you're not going to get it that way. If you have already donated, if you have already sacrificed, I think the safest thing to do is do nothing. Now, when it first comes online, which Richard Hart said would be about 14 days, that may or may not be the case. Well, it's been over a year already, and I'm not really in a hurry. I just want it to be done right and launched at the best time for it to pump. So if it needs to be delayed, in my opinion, I don't care. But I'm going to recommend do nothing, because it's going to be trading for a ratio initially, and you have to be very careful, because if you sell for a 10x, you're going to be kicking yourself, when you realize you could get 100x by just holding it, or you have to buy back in at a higher price. Okay, so my thing is to do nothing. That's my thesis on it. It's probably just to do nothing, unless I get a windfall return. So I'm just going to be keeping mine locked up. I may do a little bit. I don't have any PulseX. I may exchange a little bit for PulseX, but I think the safest thing is do nothing. Or if you're going to do something, do it with a limited amount. But what if you don't have it, right? You're only going to be able to get just a tiny bit, and that's something you have in a bear market, right? You don't want to be holding that much. You may not be wanting to buy much of Ethereum now. You could hold, stablecoin. Maybe that'd be a way of doing it, but you still have to transfer it. This is the kind of risk. We're in a bear market, so it doesn't seem like a great time to be buying crypto. What I'm going to do, what I've been doing, and I did this, actually bought some yesterday, is I'm going to be buying Hex. Because we know that Hex is going to, if you have Hex, you're going to get PHEX when they fork the project. So that might be the safest thing to do. Although safe is relative, PHEX could obviously dump 50%. It's a alt project, and alt projects tend to go down more in bear markets. So this is the thing. How do you secure your bag? And this is, first, you're going to have your own wallet. Okay, now you have to have something in your wallet. Okay, to do something in your wallet. And that's going to be supported on the Pulsechain. I'm not sure what coins will initially be supported. Probably just the very major ones. Maybe USDC will have a transfer, be worth looking at. That may be the safest thing is have some USDC, and maybe when you have PUSDC, I'm gonna look and see how that works. But maybe that's gonna be the safest way to do it. You have to have something in your wallet though, right? Obviously, Ethereum will be one. Hex will be another one. I don't know about USDC. That's the question, right? And then the third way, of course, is you can buy it when it after a few days. Initially, it's going to ratio trade. Then you can buy it. Okay, then you'll be able to buy it after things settle down. So, you know, my thing is just to hold it because it's either going to be a pump and dump bubble like we've seen all these other crypto projects, but I don't believe that's the case because I'm betting on a proven winner who is in Richard Hart. He's did this before. He's proven he can do it. He's got a strong community. He's got the marketing insight to it. If it just doesn't go away, there's a potential for, I'm going to say 1,000x. Again, that's not a quantitative insight on that, but it's just, you know, it's just my feeling on it. What would 1,000x do? Well, the initial, based on what I've heard, the initial rate was 0.001 per hex. So if you did 1,000, right, then that would be 0.10 cents. So that'd be going to 10 cents. Okay, and it could obviously do more than that, but I think that 10 cents within, I don't want to put a time frame on it, but I'm going to say within a couple years, if it's successful, we could probably see 10 cents within 3 to 4 years. Okay, and you know the reason I think this could be the crypto project for 2022, 2023, 2024 is that this is the retail project. This could be the retail project. Bitcoin is the, you know, now that's institutional. People are not excited by Bitcoin. Retail is always interested in something new, something shiny. This could be that. In a bear market, Ethereum has failed in its objectives, failed to deliver. And even Arthur Hayes wrote this out, that it's very hard to be both the world's greatest computer and the distributed computer and also this investment vehicle. They don't align. Okay. So this could be that sleeper project that surprises everybody. Okay. You have to always give the cons, the counter argument. The counter argument is this is just this is just another side project. It's it's not gonna. The problems have already been solved by these side chains. Again, what I really like about it's the simplicity of changing the MetaMask to use this new chain. Of course, if they compete with Ethereum in some degree, and if Ethereum gets everything worked out, then maybe there's no, maybe this becomes like, okay, why would you use this? But I don't really think Ethereum's going to get everything worked out because they have a bigger, grander vision. It's going to take longer to play out. And if they could just deliver this, then I see it as a competitor that could do well. Now, again, given the counter argument might be that it does so well that it adopts the same, counters the same problem as Ethereum, and then that would prove metallic rod. So let's say this thing does become successful. Even so, if it becomes that successful, you can still see that 10 cent, right? But that would prove the ideas of metallic rod. He would basically come back and say, see, I told you it's not as simple as linear scaling. It's just going to get used, and you've just created a new problem with your network. So that would be kind of counter argument. That would be how I would see metallic respond to it. But if you've got 1,000x, you make 1,000x, what does that? That's how I need to make it 1,000x. 1,000x would be good. 2,000, 3,000, 4,000x would be better. Some people want to do 10,000x. I don't know how much that is in the cards, but obviously we don't know if they'll do anything. It could just tank and burn, right? We are speculating here. And I haven't did the quantitative analysis. One argument, just to be, so that, you get the full picture. One of the concerns is that there's a lot of money. I don't know how much exactly, but maybe $1 billion, at least some $100 million, that was committed to this project. And so that's a lot of mass. Think about money mass. That's a lot of people who could sell it. There's a lot of people who've already invested in it. There's potentially a lot of liquidity from whales who will keep the price from skyrocketing, because they don't need to make 100x. They make 2x, and they're very happy. So that is kind of another counter argument is there's so many people invested in this, that it can't do as much return, or it won't do as much return. I've also been fascinated by this idea because it's taken a year to come out. Maybe it'll come out at a high price and it'll stay high because people's already like, I've already held it for a year. I'm not going to dump it. I've held it for a year. And that's kind of how I'm thinking. I'm not interested in dumping it because it's been over a year. I've almost forgot about it. I think it was smart by Richard too, if it was planned or not, to let it come out later. Therefore, it'd be less incentive to sell it. You've already held it for a year. There's something called liquidity, liquidity premium. Maybe liquidity is good on it. Maybe you don't get the liquidity premium that you do with some other projects. The other possibility is that Ethereum holders, again, you wouldn't think this, but if it rises to, let's do analysis here. Let's say you're a semi-well in Ethereum. You have $1 million of Ethereum, and so let's say you'll get $1 million of Pulsechain, and let's say you want to dump it. Let's see what you would get at 10 cents. So at 10 cents, you get $100,000. Okay, so that's, if you don't believe in the project, $100,000 is probably worth dumping it. So that will put pressure on it at some point. Now, if it comes out at 0.001, then that's like $1,000. Then you're probably going to hold that. If you've got $1 million, it'd be kind of foolish to take $1,000 that early on when it could turn into $1 million or $100,000, right? So if it goes to, but if that increases to 100,000, you may decide to take profits. It's going to be interesting. That is a concern is that Ethereum holders or those who believe more in Ethereum whales will try to dump the Pulsechain because they get so much of it, right? Maybe there's a cap. I think that'd be smart is make sure there's a cap to the Ethereum whales, but you're going to copy the chain. Maybe that's too complicated, but what you really want is you want the average wallet to be able to get some pulse because that's going to expand your network. It's going to make the network more valuable. But there's a risk that you give these Ethereum whales too much, and now they can start to do things that are negative for price appreciation. So I don't think anybody really knows what this is going to do. But if it appreciates as other projects like Ethereum, layer one technologies like Ethereum and Bitcoin appreciated, the potential for 1,000 times returns seems to be possible. I hope it is. So that's my Pulsechain breakdown. Again, just be aware of scams. You want to have something in your wallet, and you want to be off. You want to be off of not held at a Coinbase if you want to get this free token. I hope it helps.